Most people wouldn't expect an insurance lawyer to be stuck in any high-stakes scenarios, other than the occasional traffic jam on the way to work, or the copy machine breaking down just before the big report is due. In fact, most of us in here today probably know somebody who either works in insurance, is a lawyer, or has had the misfortune dealing with one or the combination of these two people. I would argue, though, that none of you have met an insurance lawyer quite like James B. Donovan, and today we'll examine how seemingly ordinary people can actually accomplish extraordinary things. But first, we have to go back in time to 1957, the height of the Cold War between the Soviet Union and the United States. During that time and in that year, a man named Rudolf Ivanovich Abel was arrested by the United States CIA, FBI, and State Department. Now, this man was found with many shortwave radios, maps of U.S. defense industries, various New York City maps, and other large cities across the United States, and other various instruments and equipment used by KGB agents and Soviet spies at the time. It was clear Adolf was a Soviet spy, and he was public enemy number one in the United States. And he was arrested by the United States federal government, and at the time, many Americans wanted him put to death immediately. He was the enemy, and he was a face to a faceless enemy of communism. But he still had to go through the legal process, and he still needed an attorney or a lawyer to defend him in court. And nobody wanted to step up to the bat, except James B. Donovan. According to a March 15th Biography.com article on James B. Donovan, he accepted to defend Abel in court, and he said that he was doing not only Abel a public service, but the American community and country as a whole a public service as well, because he felt that the American justice system and way of life was on trial, and that everybody deserved a fair trial, no matter who they were, even if they were a Soviet spy. And he learned these things, as the article states, when he was a defense attorney for Nazi generals and war criminals at Nuremberg after World War II. Yes, Donovan defended Nazis at Nuremberg because he felt even though they were Nazis, they still were entitled to having a fair and equal trial in front of the law. And he translated this right over to when he defended Abel in federal court. Now, at the time, Donovan was called a commie lover. His family was even shot at in a drive-by shooting, the article states, at their house, although nobody was injured. The New York Times at the time even stated that Donovan was about as loved as John Adams was when he defended the British after the Boston Massacre. But this didn't stop Donovan, even though many defense attorneys probably would have stopped defending their clients if they had to go through this much of a hassle. But Donovan protected Abel all the way up to the Supreme Court. While Abel was easily convicted in federal courts, Donovan made sure Abel still got the fair trial that he deserved. And on a March 11th, 2016 JamesBDonovan.com article, talks about how Donovan argued that all the evidence gathered against Abel was in violation of the Fourth Amendment, because neither the CIA, the FBI, or the State Department had received any warranties to not only arrest Abel, but to confiscate all of his belongings as well, meaning that all the things that they had gotten to prove that Abel was a Soviet spy was done illegally. The argument is still used today in regards to terrorism across the world. And at the time, Abel said in front of the Supreme Court, or Donovan said in front of the Supreme Court rather, quote, "Abel is an alien charged with the capital offense of Soviet espionage. It may seem anomalous that our constitutional guarantees protect such a man. However, our principles are engraved in the history and the law of the land. If the free world is not faithful to its own moral code, there remains no society for which the rest of the world can look up to. In essence, if the United States doesn't give the Soviet spy the fair trial he deserves, no other country will be able to look up to the United States in terms of equality and fairness." Now, the Supreme Court upheld Abel's conviction, only in a 5-4 decision, although many Americans at the time, the article points out, thought that it was going to be a 9-0 decision and Abel was going to get the death penalty. Not so, because Abel got rid of, or the Supreme Court got rid of the death penalty against Abel in hopes that one day they could trade Abel for an American captured by the Soviets. And a few months after that 1960 conviction, that's exactly what happened, when according to an October 16th, 2015 Fordham University article states that United States Air Forceman Gary Powers was shot down over the Soviet Union and thus captured by the Soviets. The Soviets wanted Abel, and the Americans wanted Gary Powers back. And the CIA contacted Donovan, and he was put in charge of getting Powers back from the Soviets. So for 8 days, and that's Gary Powers, Donovan traveled across the Berlin Wall, meeting with Soviets at the East Berlin Embassy. Now he contacted the Soviets and was not a part of the federal government. So if Donovan was caught by any Soviet soldiers, he could be detained as an American spy due to the contact information that he had. But he didn't care. He wanted the right thing to be done. And at 8:20 a.m. of February 10th, Donovan met with the Soviets at the Glynnock Bridge, where they traded Rudolf Ivanovich Abel for Gary Powers, as well as 2 detained U.S. college students at the same time. And because of his service to his country, Donovan received the CIA Distinguished Intelligence Medal and an honorary degree from Fordham University. And he also got to meet with President Kennedy as well. And James Donovan shows that even if you're an insurance lawyer and an ordinary American, you can still do extraordinary things for your country and set principles and examples for the rest of the world. Thank you.